All right, good afternoon. Let's get started with our afternoon criminal docket for February 24th. We will get started by taking quick announcements other than pleas. Any attorney with an announcement other than a plea, I will take the announcement at this time. Mr. McPherson, we'll start with you. But, who do you have? And you're on mute.
Judge, I have numbers 15 through 21. Osvaldo Gonzalez Jr.
Right. 15 through 21, Osvaldo Gonzalez Jr., who is in custody. We're still waiting on a felony.
Osvaldo.
Okay, so we have a motion for bond reduction on this case, Mr. McPherson?
Yes, Judge, on each case, we have motions either to set bond or for bond reduction. He's been in jail for about a month and a half now. He was arrested January the 14th of this year. This is a case where he knew there was a warrant outstanding for him, but he wouldn't turn himself in. And the reason he wouldn't turn himself in was because he didn't think he was guilty of the charges and he didn't want to go back to jail. We did file, once he was arrested, he's been indicted on the new charge. We went before the felony court and they reduced his bond to $2,500 cash as surety on the felony. His father, the victim in the case that he didn't want to get arrested on, did appear before that court, told the court that he did not want his case prosecuted. So we're asking that you let him back out on bond again. He would request PR bonds because he's still got to make felony bonds.
All right, what's the position of the state?
Judge, this is the first notice I've received of the motions for PR, for the motion for set bond. At this time, given how many cases he has, we would be opposed to PR bond. However, we will defer to the court's discretion.
Okay, so he's got, I guess he's been in custody since January 14th, where he picked up a resisting arrest, a POCS, 2 POCSs, and I'm assuming the felony. And then before that, he had from 2018 a DWI that's still pending, accident involving damage from 2019, 2020, an assault and a resisting. And he was out on bond on all of these, and these are still pending. And he NISID. Is that correct, Mr. McPherson? Did I get that more or less correct?
Yes, you talked to him and asked him to please turn himself in. The PSI officer kept trying to get him to turn himself in, but
I remember that. I remember.
okay, he made it clear, but I don't see my client on the screen.
All right, is Osvaldo Gonzalez, Sheriff, is he available or is he in quarantine or?
Judge, they're bringing him.
Okay.
Yeah, they're bringing him. We didn't know we were gonna get to him the first one.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Okay, so I guess my concern, Mr. McPherson, is the same concern you would have if you were if you were still wearing the white hat of the prosecutor, and that is, what are the chances of this gentleman coming back and, you know, coming before the court? I know at the time there was a warrant for his arrest, so that's why he wasn't turning himself in, but then he goes and picks up some felonies and at least a couple misdemeanors. So
Judge, the chances are real good of him coming back. I mean, his parents are local, his mother's local, his father's local. He has a job waiting for him in Corpus Christi, but he kept in touch until he knew this warrant was out for him, and he appeared at all the court hearings in the past until he was told to turn himself in.
I remember that. I remember he was diligent, because it's always easy to appear via Zoom from an undisclosed location. Okay. Let me start off by doing this. Let me reinstate the PR bonds that had already previously been given. Okay, and then let me work that way so that I can at least have a good understanding of what I'm doing here. So PR bond on the resisting arrest, CR 2010-753H. PR bond on CR 1914-985H. We're going to reinstate that PR bond as well, since a previous PR bond had been granted. And CR 18-01945H. $2,000 PR bond on that one as well. And that leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4 cases that have cash or surety bonds. One of them is at 500.
That one's reasonable.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that one at 500 cash or surety, so that one will remain. I'll reduce the resisting down to $500 cash or surety. And then the other two, here's what I'll do, Mr. McPherson. I'll set them all at $500 cash or surety. So it's a total of $2,000.
I believe you can do that, Judge. I don't see him on the screen, but I know he'd be very appreciative of what you're doing in this case. And I will try to get him to appear every time that he has to appear. He's been good about keeping in touch.
Right.
Judge, we would ask if he does fail to appear, that AIP be the next condition of bond.
Well, if he fails to appear, I'm not going to consider bond. He's going to get locked up and then
Better.
stay in there. Yeah, so I don't think I have to worry about AIP because I'm not gonna get to that point. But I think right now, reducing the bonds down to 500, the ones that didn't have previously have a PR bond, which are 3 of them had PR bonds. I'll reinstate those PR bonds. The ones that didn't have PR bonds, I'm going to set them at $500 cash or surety, so a total of $2,000. And that way, at least we have a bondsman who's looking out and over him. Mr. McPherson, I know that you probably have somewhere else to go. I can explain that to Mr. Gonzalez when he's brought over. And let me give you a reset date.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to still set it up for an afternoon, Mr. McPherson, because who knows if he's able to make these bonds, especially with the felony.
Yes, he's going to be able to bond out. I talked to him just yesterday. So I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get him out.
Okay, so then you'd like for me to give you a reset in the morning then versus an afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, let me go ahead and give you a morning reset. I can do, let's do April 5th. That's a month down the road, April 5th, 2022 at 9:30.
Very good. And so you'll let him know what happened?
I will let him know what happened as soon as he's brought in. I'll call him up and I'll let him know exactly what transpired and then what I did for him and the fact that he needs to stay in contact with you and that we have court on April 5th at 9:30.
Yeah, just stress to him to call me as soon as he gets out of jail.
I will do that.
Okay. May I be excused?
Your excuse, thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody's wearing caps or hats, make sure and remove them. Si traen gorras, sombreros, se las quitan, por favor.
Mr. Canche.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. It's number 22 on the court's criminal docket.
That's Ruben Jimenez Gonzalez Jr., CR 22-01633H.
Yes, Your Honor. I was just appointed to this case yesterday. According to the paperwork, I believe he has a case in intake, assault family member. I don't know if it's going to remain a misdemeanor or if it's going to be a felony. And I was wondering if the state could clarify that.
At this time, it's being looked at as a felony because he does have a prior conviction.
So in that case, Your Honor, then if it's going to be a felony, I would just respectfully request a reset date and obviously have review that felony because I mean, I would imagine they're both out of the same transaction.
They were.
Let me do this. Let me give you March 24th at 2 o'clock. March 24th, that's 1 month out, and we'll see where he's at that point, because it is a jail case.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Your Honor, I was recently assigned to that. He had a previous attorney. I don't know if Mr. Gonzalez has already been arraigned on this one or not.
On this, the possession of marijuana, you mean?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Has not been arraigned. All right, Mr. Gonzalez, can I have you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
True and correct name, Ruben Jimenez Gonzalez Jr.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gonzalez, you're here before the court charged with the offense of possession of marijuana less than 2 ounces. That is a Class B misdemeanor. I need to advise you that a Class B misdemeanor carries a potential penalty of up to 6 months in the Hidalgo County Jail and up to a $2,000 fine upon conviction. Do you understand the range of punishment you could receive for a Class B misdemeanor?
Yes, sir.
Has any court ever declared you to be mentally incompetent, crazy, or insane?
No, sir.
Counsel, speak with your client. Do you find him to be mentally competent, able to assist?
He's competent, Your Honor.
Court's going to go ahead and make a finding that Ruben Gonzalez Jr. is mentally competent. I'm going to enter a plea of not guilty for him at this time and reset his case for March 24th at 2 o'clock. March 24th, if you need us before then, Mr. Concha, we're here on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the same time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Maybe excused.
Yes, 2 o'clock. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you.
All
Judge,
right.
we have Osvaldo Gonzalez back now.
All right. All right, Mr. Gonzalez, good morning or afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. McPherson was on earlier. He made a request that I grant you some PR bonds. On all the cases that you previously had a PR bond, sir, I reinstated those PR bonds. Those are 3 cases. I reinstated those PR bonds. On all, you have another 4 cases that you did not have PR bonds and you had cash or surety bonds. On those 4, I set them at $500 cash or surety for a total of $2,000 cash or surety, okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Mr. McPherson said that he's working with you and the felony department to maybe bond you out. I gave him the date of April the 5th at 9:30, April the 5th at 9:30. Now, he did advise the court or remind the court, I should say, and I remember that you always appeared to court via Zoom.
Yes, sir.
That was part of the reason why I was more inclined to reinstate the PR bonds, even though you really got picked up, and that's the reason how you got arrested, right? Otherwise, you'd still be out there. You know, there's a risk that I'm taking right now by giving you these low bonds and PR bonds that you'll never come back. Mr. McPherson has a lot of faith in you. And so what I'm going to tell you to do is that you need to be in contact with him because he has a lot of faith in you. And I'm extending that courtesy to him and to you for all the times that you would appear via Zoom.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
In the case, it's important that you show up to the next Zoom hearing. Now, what day is that? Let's see if you
April the
remember.
4th.
April the 5th.
The 5th, sorry about that.
April the 5th at 9:30.
Okay,
Okay.
sir. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Flores.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I have number 61, 62, and 63 on the court's criminal docket, and it's actually Rick Salinas, and I'm standing in for Mr. Rick Salinas.
All right, 61, 62, and 63. That's CR 22009148H, CR 22009138H, CR 1911764H, Rogelio Morales Salazar.
So, Your Honor, on these cases, I was informed that this is a status on the CR 19 case and that there's 2 arraignments on the CR 22s.
Correct. Is Mr. Salazar present?
He is present on Zoom.
All right. So he picked up, let me see, he already had a second DWI. Is this new DWI that he just picked up?
That's my understanding, yes, Your Honor.
Right. Does he have a mobile device?
This is the one that I told you that he can safety checks and report that he keeps on missing and he's definitely gonna move up the foot for this week.
Right. Okay. So this was going to be a situation where we've been having some issues, Mr. Flores, with him missing and, you know, being inconsistent with the mobile device. Obviously, he's already on his second DWI. and then picks up a third. Now, there's not a conviction on the second, so it's still in this court, but I need to address the problem before this problem becomes a problem that will affect other members of our communities. So the question then becomes, what are we going to do with, I can arraign him on the new DWI. I can arraign him on the resisting arrest, but I still need to address the issue on the mobile device that he has been having some problems.
That was my understanding, Your Honor, that the court was going to address that issue.
I mean, I think at this point, we should be looking at scram.
I concur, Judge. And we're going to look at refiling this case as a Class A.
Yeah, because it's a class, yeah, it should be a, second Class A, the new one.
Right.
Have you spoken to him about scram, Mr. Flores?
No, Your Honor. I don't believe Mr. Salinas spoke to him about scram yet. But I'm almost certain that that's a better alternative than what the court has available to it.
Let me put you in a breakout room with him. I'd like for you to visit with him about it. And then if y'all can come to an agreement that that's something that he's willing to accept, then we can just take care of it administratively. And then, I can reset it for next week just to make sure that he's complied with that requirement. But I think that, we're talking about protecting the community. This is the classic example of something that I need to look out for.
Understood, Judge.
All right.
All right.
Accept the recommendation, accept the invitation into the breakout room. And I believe your client is already there.
All right, Judge. Thank you.
Come back. Mr. Bustos, what do you have?
Judge, I believe number 52 in your criminal docket, Judge. Same text as Ramon Vasquez.
52, you said?
Yes, Judge. 53, I mean.
Yeah, 52, 14-247H, Ramon Alejandro Vasquez. He's in custody.
It says my announcement is on court, Judge. I believe that we're still expecting the felony to come in, Judge.
Do we have a felony? Is a felony still pending? Give me 1 second, Hector. Let me just take a look at that because I have a note here that the felony is set for set for the yesterday.
Yesterday, Judge.
Yeah, it was set for yesterday. Did you know that, Hector?
Yeah, I did not know that, Judge. But what I'll do is can you give me the clause number, Judge?
Sure, it's CR 001922F. It looks like it's out of the 332nd.
Very well, Judge. Yeah, I was in the 332nd yesterday, Judge. We did not take it up. However, I'll make contact with Ms. Varela from that court, Judge, and I'll set it up. Anyway, we can get a two-week continuance, Judge.
Absolutely. Let me give you March the 10th.
Very well, Judge.
March 10th at 2 o'clock, okay?
Thank you, Judge. My big cheese.
Yes, you may. Thank you. Mr. Garcia, what do you have?
Good afternoon, Judge. I believe I have number 48 and 49 on the court's PM docket. This is a jail case, and we were set for an arraignment, Judge.
This is George Reina, CR 2201-640H, CR 2201-641H. Arturo, I'm sorry, George Jeremy Reina.
Yes, Judge.
All right. So we can arraign him on both of these cases?
Yes, Judge, if we can, please.
All right. Mr. Reina, can I have you raise your right hand? Do you sort of tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
True and correct name, George Jeremy Reina?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Reina, you're here before the court charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor, and out of the same transaction on an accident involving damage to a vehicle, also a Class B misdemeanor. I need to advise you that Class B misdemeanors carry a potential penalty of up to 6 months in the Hidalgo County Jail and up to a $2,000 fine upon conviction. Do you understand the range of punishment you could receive for Class B misdemeanors?
Yes, sir.
Has any court ever declared you to be mentally incompetent, crazy, or insane?
No, sir.
Counsel, speaking with your client, do you find him to be mentally competent, able to assist?
He is competent and able to assist in his own defense, Judge.
Court's going to go ahead and make a finding that George Jeremy Reina is mentally competent. I'm entering pleas of not guilty of both cases. And a reset date, what do you think, Mr. Garcia? A week?
Well, Judge, I think we can take care of the case very quickly. So yes, Judge.
So maybe next week, next Thursday?
Next Thursday sounds good, Judge. Yes.
3/3 at 2 o'clock. Okay.
Your Honor, I have one request. I must advocate for my client. I did speak with him, and he's requested that a bond be reduced from currently it's a $5,000 cash surety for each charge, and he's not able to post bond in that amount, Judge. He's been in there since the 16th of February. He is a young guy, and he's humbly requesting that be reduced.
Let me take a look. I will tell you that, Mr. Arena, I treat everybody the same way, and I haven't even inquired. I haven't looked. If you have zero criminal history, if this is your first criminal history right now, I promise you I'll give you a PR bond. If you do have criminal history, then we're going to have some problems.
Judge, I don't want to be disingenuous. I will go ahead and save you the time. He does have a criminal history, and I would not be opposed to a mobile device. I understand there was an accident out of the same transaction.
So let me see.
As part of conditions for the bonds, Judge, if it pleases the court.
In this county? Okay, so he has other cases, Mr. Garcia, in another county, or?
No, out of Hidalgo County, Judge. I understand he had a case, I believe, a couple of years ago in 2017. I think that's what I looked up the other day. But I think that was a charge, Judge.
Are you seeing anything?
I'm not seeing anything, Judge.
Yeah, neither am I on my end.
No jailings either.
Mr. Reyna, have you ever been arrested?
Only in juvenile,
Okay. Okay, but not as an adult.
not as an adult, no.
Okay.
Oh, that's excellent, Judge. I guess I made a great mistake.
All right. Well, I'm going to treat you like I treat everybody else, Mr. Reyna. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Don't be one of those guys, okay, Mr. Reyna, that starts messing it up and jading me for everybody else. The lawyers hate when I start getting jaded because, defendants don't show up to court. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Because then I stop giving PR bonds. And
Yes, sir.
when I stop giving PR bonds, lawyers get mad. But I mean, I can only do so much, right?
Yes, sir.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a $2,500 PR bond. Now, an accident did occur on this one. So that PR bond is also going to include a mobile device. Mobile device. You're going to have a mobile device. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mobile device, instanter. But you do get a PR bond. Now, I will tell you this, if you have no violations, Mr. Reyna, no violations with the mobile device, meaning I don't ever have to admonish you. I don't ever have to, tell you that you're messing up and to install it and you haven't installed it. If I don't ever have to do that, what I'm doing is I'm waiving fines and court costs for some of the defendants. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And that's just to compensate and to reimburse you for some of the expenses that you're going to have to incur to have that mobile device. Right now, I'm saving you money by giving you a PR bond. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And on top of that, I'm going to give you some additional relief if you don't pick up any violations with the mobile device. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, who's bending over backwards here to help you?
You?
Don't make me look bad, okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give you a reset date. Okay, I'm going to give you a reset date on these two cases, and this reset date is going to be April 5th. Okay, April 5th, 2022 at 9:30 in the morning. Stay in contact with Mr. Garcia. April 5th, 9:30. Now, I'm going to give you until Monday to install that mobile device. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. And we're going to send the list of vendors over to Mr. Garcia so that you can actually contact him and he can give you the list of all the vendors. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
So the moment you get out of jail, either tonight or tomorrow, who's the first person you're going to contact?
The attorney.
You're going to contact Mr. Garcia, and you're going to contact Mr. Garcia to get what?
To get the vendors.
The list of the vendors. Very good. And you're going to have until when to install that? Monday. And then we're going to log on again and we're going to see each other when? On Zoom.
April 5th, I think.
Yeah, you're on top of it today. All right.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
trust that you're gonna remember all those details, so Mr. Garcia is gonna give those all to you when you call. So the only thing you truly need to remember is when you get released, you contact Mr. Garcia and he'll give you all the rest of the details. You understand that? You got it? All right. Mr. Garcia, anything else?
I have nothing further, Judge, and thank you very much. I'm sure my client will respond, and I'm sure he's gonna take this very seriously.
I hope he reaches out to you tomorrow.
I hope so too, Judge, for his own sake.
All right. Let's move over to, do you have anything else, Mr. Garcia? Or is that it?
That was it, Judge. May be excused.
You may. Mr. Davila.
Good afternoon, Judge. I have number 43, Jesus Alejandro Morales. It's a jail case.
CR 22005008, Jesus Alejandro Morales.
Yes, Judge, he's here.
I granted a PR bond, but he's still in custody. Was he not able to make a felony or?
Your Honor, he does have a case in intake, a felony case. And I do have him, a court date for him on that next week. So if I could get at least a 2 or 3 week reset on this case, I would appreciate it.
Sure, I can give you March the 10th. Is that enough time? Is that after your felony?
Yes, that'll be after my felony, Your Honor. March 10th works.
March the 10th, 2022 at 2.
That's all I have, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Your excuse. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I have Mr. Mora and Mr. Flores, but Mr. Mora has his camera off. Oh, there he is. All right, Mr. Mora, what do you have?
Judge, I've got Luis Peter Velasquez, and he is on Zoom under Efren Araiza.
All right. Let me get to Mr. Velasquez. It's number 65. CR 2111-830H, Luis Peter Velasquez. Granted a PR bond back on January 25th. And here we are today. He is online. Your announcement, Mr. Mora.
Judge, I'm gonna need a little more time. I know we wanted to get him out and get his medical treatment. His family's been getting him to his appointments and whatnot. Staying with a brother at this point, it seems, through that contact that I've had with a family member. So this is an ongoing, I think this is a numerous, we keep having these trespasses, criminal trespass issues with Mr. Velasquez, and I'd like to get the state to see if this can be resolved.
He is out on bond. I can give you whatever time you need, and I can set it up in the morning since he's out on bond, and it looks like he has someone to assist him in getting on Zoom. So I'll follow your lead, Mr. Mora, as to what days, what time, how much time you think you need, so I can give it to you.
30 days, Judge, and I'll be able to get with the state, and we can see what we can work out on this matter.
All right, April 5th at 9:30. April 5th, 9:30.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. I know that he is on mute. Is there any way you can make contact with him? I know that may, okay, maybe you can hear me now. Mr. Velasquez, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sir, stay in contact with your attorney. We'll see you on April 5th at 9:30, okay? All right.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Let's go back to Mr. Flores. Mr. Flores, did you have an opportunity to visit with your client, Mr. Salazar, who I believe is represented by Rick Salinas, but you are here standing in for him. He's got a new DWI, a resisting, and he's got a pending felony second from, pending DWI second from 2019. Were you able to talk to him about the idea of the scram device?
I was, yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And he would accept that as a condition, Your Honor, if the court imposed that.
Yeah, the court's gonna go ahead and impose scram.
Judge, there's an issue. You ordered scram back on 127 and AIP, and he's failed to comply with both.
Mr. Flores, I am all ears as to suggestions because clearly Mr. Salinas has been retained, and I know Mr. Salinas well, and he always likes to have client control. So please explain why we don't have any client control here.
Your Honor, I don't have any additional information to provide the court. All I do know is that Mr. Salinas his staff contacted me and indicated that they had discussed with him kind of the issues that were happening with compliance. But aside from that, I have no other information, Judge. If the court could recall this case so that I could see if I could gather additional information to see what alternatives they were contemplating, Your Honor.
Here's what I'm gonna do, Abel. I don't want to keep you. I want to give you the time. I also want to give Mr. Salazar the time to get the scram as ordered. I'm just going to reset today's hearing for next Thursday at 9:30 in the morning. And I would hope that between now and then, he actually, and let's do this. It's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be at 3/3, 9:30, but in person. All right. So Mr. Salinas needs to talk to him about the fact that if he doesn't comply with the conditions that the court has, which is scram, then I'm going to need him and his client in person next Thursday, a week from today at 9:30.
I will advise him, Judge.
All right, in person though, not on.
I put that.
Yeah, perfect. And that'll, I guess, motivate him to go get the scram device installed, because failure to do so may result in the court taking action that Mr. Salazar is not going to be happy with. And that might be one way for us to either A, take out a warrant for his arrest because he doesn't show up, or B, take action that we need to take action. But I hope we don't have to get to that point, because I hope at that point he's already complied with the orders of the court, have the scram, and we're, back to what we need to do, which is to allow you guys the time to prepare for his defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that, Judge.
Anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Then you and Mr. Salazar are excused.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Let's see if there's anyone else other than please. Any announcements other than please? If not, I'll take. All right. Representative Munoz, what do you have?
Judge, I have Mr. David Baldasso, Your Honor. He's in custody. It should be 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the jail docket, Your Honor.
All right. CR 21-06-573H, 06-572H, CR 22-00710H, and 00709H. State of Texas versus David Baldasso. He's in custody. Your announcement, Representative Munoz.
Judge, just previously, we had been given a recommendation, Your Honor, a probation rec with the understanding that the MTRs will be dismissed and one would be extended for 1 more year. Mr. Baldasso had communicated that he did not want to accept that, Your Honor. So I'm working with the state to see if I can get another type of recommendation or something to try to dispose of everything together in accordance with the wishes of Mr. Baldasso.
Okay. In terms of timeline, do you think you would need about another week or two?
About another week, Judge, is fine. I mean, the sooner I can get it disposed, the better, and I can work with Mr. Baldasso on that.
All right. How about next Thursday at 2 o'clock?
Yes, sir. That's fine.
Perfect. 3-3 at 2. All right, Mr. Baldasso, I'm going to reset your case for March the 3rd, which is next Thursday, and that'll be at 2 o'clock. All right. Thank you so much.
May I be excused, Judge?
You may. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Alanis, who do you have?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Number 25 and 26, Jesus Javier.
Jesus Javier Martinez, number 25 and 26, CR 21-12-915H and CR 21-12-916H.
Judge.
Felony plea was set for today.
Judge, that Jesus Martinez is in the 464 in person.
Oh, he's in person right now?
Yes, he is at the 464.
Right. Mr. Alanis, I suspect that because he's in person over there, you just need more time to try to let that case kind of run its course, I'm assuming. Or maybe he's actually with him. Mr. Alanis, you're on mute right now.
I lost you, Judge. You're back.
I'm back. Mr. Alanis, it looks like your client is actually at the 464th right now.
Judge, we finished with him. He pled out this morning.
Okay,
We took a plea. And so we're asking for the court to set us down for another plea in your court, at your convenience, either Tuesday or Thursday, Your Honor.
I can do Tuesday if you can maybe get the paperwork taken care of by then.
I will personally drive to Stark County and get him signed up and get him to our prosecutor.
All right. If you need more time, let me know, but otherwise I'm going to set it up for 3-1 at 2.
So I just need our prosecutor to forward me the plea paperwork.
Yuri will get that to you as soon as we're done with docket. Otherwise, we'll see you on Tuesday at 2 o'clock for Mr. Jesus Javier Martinez.
That would be great. Thank you so very much, Your Honor, for taking my announcement.
You're welcome.
Stay safe, Judge. Thank you. May I be excused, Your Honor?
Your excuse. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Mendoza.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Vanessa Mendoza standing in for Public Defender Alex Aguirre. Your Honor, just a quick announcement on numbers 39 through 42 of your afternoon docket, Lizette Morales. On these cases, Ms. Morales was set to appear. She was in custody, but she bonded out. And on her order of release, I believe she's set to appear on March 24th in the 9:30 docket, just for the record.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I have her down for right now.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else?
I have a plea, but not yet.
Perfect. Well, let me take a please because I don't think I have any more announcements other than please. So what case do you have, Ms. Mendoza?
I have number 12 through 14 on your docket, Jose Adrian Garcia.
All right. And are we proceeding on all 3 cases?
It's my understanding that it was going to be for sure 2, Your Honor, and I believe that there was still one pending on the theft of property.
Judge, on the theft of property, we've agreed to give him a PR bond. So if you want to just reset the pleas, so we can take care of all of them together, that would be ideal.
Okay, perfect. So then PR bond on the theft. And then what about the assault and the DWI? The DWI, he already has a PR bond, correct?
I'm not sure.
My docket shows that Jose Adrian Garcia in CR 211399.
Yes, he's got a PR bond.
PR bond. And then you're okay with PR bond in the theft and the assault case as well?
Yes, Judge.
All right, any other conditions that the state's requesting on the PR bond for the assault?
Judge, he's speaking Spanish.
Yes, Judge, that they stay away from victim or have no harmful contact with victim.
And what is the victim's name?
One moment, Judge. The victim's name, Judge, is Agapita Marines.
All right, Carlos, will you let her know that the court's going to go ahead and grant him 2 $2,500 PR bonds on both cases that he currently has a bond on? But on the assault, he is to have no harmful contact with the victim, Agapita Martinez, you said, correct?
Marines.
Marines.
Señor García, la Corte le va a dar 2 fianzas en cual usted está prometiendo a regresar, pero en la ofensa de agresión, usted no debe tener contacto dañoso con Agapita Marines.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to reset this case for April the 5th at 9:30.
Vamos a regresar el 5 de abril a las 9:30 de la mañana.
And Judge, just for the court's knowledge, the reason we're okay with the PR bond is that the victim has filed an AMP.
All right, we'll reset it for the morning for an announcement. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further. May I please be excused?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So then that takes care of that case. Let me see, Mr. Garza, who do you have? And so we can start.
Good afternoon, Judge. I have a plea, Judge.
Okay, and that is for Faustino Castro?
That's correct, Judge. He should be online.
I do see him there. Mr. Castro, can I have you unmute yourself just to make sure your microphone works?
Encender su micrófono, señor Castro, para a ver si es que lo podemos oír.
He's not appearing on my docket, Judge. What number is he?
It's from the morning.
This morning, it was from this morning's docket.
Okay, 1 second.
Señor Castro, si puedo oprimirle ahí en la pantalla el... Ahí.
Ok, ¿me escuchan?
Okay, you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Sir,
Ok, ¿me puedes en español?
Sí, talking in Spanish.
yes, sir. I'll, my bailiff is going to translate for you.
Yo lo voy a traducir todo, señor.
Ok, gracias.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else, Mr. Garza, or is that the only plea?
Did you say any more, please, Judge?
Yes, Carlos, who do you have?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. I have a plea, Your Honor, Miguel Angel Torres. Mr. Torres, are you on Zoom?
Miguel Angel Torres? Yes, he is logged on. Mr. Torres, can you unmute yourself real quick? Mr. Torres, can you hear me? You're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry about that.
No problem. Mr. Torres, just be ready to mute and unmute yourself. So when I call your name and require a response, please make sure that you respond, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Who else do I have that has a plea? Ms. Del Bosque.
Yes, Judge, good afternoon. I'm here on number 57.
Number 57. Efrain Fuentes. Where is Mr. Fuentes? Okay, Mr. Fuentes, can you unmute yourself just to make sure your microphone works?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Just hang tight. I'm going to be right with you. Let me just line up everybody. Right. And Mr. Reina.
Yes, Judge, numbers 44 and 45, ready for a plea. He's a jail case.
44. Sergio Ortega.
Correct.
Are we proceeding on both cases?
Yes, sir. He's already pled on the felony.
Okay. All right. Mr. Ortega, is that you? You can just raise your hand if that's you.
Spanish.
All right, Mr. Ortega, is that you?
Señor Ortega, ¿es usted? Señor Ortega, ¿es usted?
Sí.
Yes.
All right. Carlos, you must have a Yorkie at your house.
Sorry, Judge. It's my dogs. Let me get on Zoom. On mute.
I have a Yorkie. I know what those sound like. All right, Alex, who do you have?
Judge, I have number 54 and 55, Michael Flores.
54, 55. Is that going to be a plea?
Yes, Judge.
All right. And I do see Michael Flores there. Mr. Flores, can you unmute yourself just to make sure your microphone works?
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you. Are we proceeding on both cases, Mr. Munoz?
Yes, Judge, I believe one's a plea to deferred and the other's a dismissal.
Okay, which one's going to get dismissed?
I'm not sure which one, Judge. They're both POMs.
One's a 20 and one's a 21. Yuri, do we know which one is going to be the plea, the 20 or the 21?
For which one, Judge? I'm sorry, I'm working on it.
Yeah, Michael Flores. Number 54 and 55?
Judge, the dismissal will be 54.
54, the 2020 case.
Yes, Judge.
Gotcha.
And Judge, I believe Ms. Lebosca's case is not ready for a plea yet. I believe we're still lacking the plea paperwork.
Judge, I'm checking with my office on that, if I can have just a minute.
All right. Which one was your client? Efrain Fuentes, correct?
Fuentes. Yes, Judge.
All right. Do we have anyone else who's going to be a plea here today? Anyone else who's I'm missing? I didn't get to other than just waiting on Ms. Del Bosque.
Let me check on Kenya about the last judge, maybe some, if the paperwork is ready.
Okay. Mr. Ortegon, do you mind standing in for Hitesh Shagani on a plea for Kenya Velasquez?
Not a problem, Judge.
All right.
Kenya?
Kenya Velasquez, can you turn on your camera and your microphone?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I see you there. Mr. Ortegon is going to stand in for Mr. Shagani in case he doesn't show up in time. That way we can take care of your case here today, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. All right,
Judge, what is the order in which you're going to be taking the pleas, if you don't mind?
I will let you know. There's gonna be,
We have number 59, Mr. Gonzalez and Malazan, and we don't have paperwork. You wanna read it?
okay, yes, so let me just, before I do that, I'll let you know right now, Mr. Hiller, but Jackie's letting me know that number 59 was gonna be a PTD placement. Rogelio Gonzalez is not logged on. And we have had no contact with Mr. Alvarez, so I'm gonna go ahead and reset that case for next Thursday.
And Judge, we have no packets that has been submitted in that case.
Nothing at all?
Not that I can see, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, are you there? Rogelio Gonzalez, you're on mute and with your camera off.
Yes, hello, Judge. I have no camera on my computer.
Okay, no problem. Here's what's I'm being told. It was set for a PTD plea, but no paperwork has been submitted. So I'm gonna ask that you stay in contact with Mr. Alvarez. I'm gonna reset your case for April 5th at 9:30. April 5th, 9:30, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. You're excused.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Okay, Mr. Heller, the order in which I'll be calling cases this afternoon is the following. First one to have their case called is going to be, just so that everybody knows who's going first. First one to answer my questions is Sergio Ortega, and he is in custody, followed by Michael Anthony Flores, followed by Efrain Fuentes, followed by Miguel Angel Torres, followed by Kenya Velasquez, and finally Faustino Castro. That is the order in which the cases will be called this afternoon.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, if I called out your name, please raise your right hand.
Dígame su nombre y levanto mano derecha.
Do each of you sort of tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I'm going to start with Sergio Mota Ortega.
Sergio Mota Ortega, jura que testimonio que va a haber esta tarde va a ser la verdad y solamente la verdad, señor.
Sí, sir.
Yes, sir.
How about you, Mr. Michael Anthony Flores?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Efrain Fuentes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Followed by Mr. Miguel Angel Torres.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Kenya Vanessa Velasquez.
Yes.
Thank you. Finally, Faustino Rosales Castro.
Y Faustino Rosales Castro, usted jura que testimonio que va a haber esta tarde va a ser la verdad y solamente la verdad, señor. Voz alta. ¿Puede hablar un poco más alto? Yes.
All right, thank you. We're here in CR 21-11-9-11H, State of Texas versus Sergio Mota Ortega. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Sergio Mota Ortega, ¿es su nombre correcto y verdadero?
Sí.
Yes.
Mr. Ortega, you're here before the court charged with the offense of violating a protective order, a Class A misdemeanor. In just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for a Class A misdemeanor.
Señor Ortega, usted se encuentra ante la corte porque es acusado de una ofensa que violó una orden de protección que se considera un delito menor clase A. En un momento le explico lo máximo de castigo que usted puede recibir por esta ofensa.
And Judge, he also has number 45.
Number 45, I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize. He also has CR 21-11-9-11H. It's also a Class A misdemeanor, and in just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for that one as well.
Y ahorita le explico también lo mismo en la segunda ofensa que violó una orden de protección que también se considera un delito menor clase A.
In CR 21-08-512H, State of Texas versus Michael Anthony Flores. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Flores, you're here before the court charged with the offense of possession of marijuana less than 2 ounces, a Class B misdemeanor. In just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor. In CR 21-08-521H, State of Texas versus Efrain Fuentes. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you,
Yes,
Mr. Fuentes. You're here before the court charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. And in just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor.
Yes, Your Honor.
In CR 20-00027H, State Detective versus Miguel Angel Torres. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Torres, you're here before the court charged with the offense of possession of marijuana less than 2 ounces, a Class B misdemeanor. And in just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor. In CR 21-08856H, State Detective versus Kenya Vanessa Velasquez. Ma'am, is that your true and correct name?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Velasquez, you're here before the court charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. And in just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor. In CR 21-10084H, State of Texas versus Faustino Rosales Castro. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Faustino Rosales Castro es su nombre correcto y verdadero.
Sí, señor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Castro, you're here before the court charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. I need to advise all of you that Class B misdemeanors carry a potential penalty of up to 6 months in the Idaho County Jail and up to a $2,000 fine upon conviction. Class A misdemeanors carry a potential penalty of up to 1 year in the Idaho County Jail and up to a $4,000 fine upon conviction. Do each of you understand the range of punishment you could receive for your Class A and Class B misdemeanor? I'll start with Sergio Mota Ortega.
Sergio Mota Ortega entiende que usted es acusado de una ofensa de un delito menor clase A y con esta ofensa lo máximo de castigo que usted puede recibir es hasta 1 año de cárcel del condado, una multa de $4,000 o las dos cosas ya ha sido encontrado culpable. ¿Sí entiende lo máximo de castigo que puede recibir por estas ofensas?
Sí.
Yes.
How about you, Mr. Michael Anthony Flores?
Yes, sir.
How about you, Mr. Efrain Fuentes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank
And
you.
Judge, I apologize for interrupting, but we do not have paperwork somehow. There was a snafu with email, and so her receipt, there was a receipt landed in my spam box. So they're going to be requesting a reset.
For Mr. Efrain Fuentes, correct?
Yes, and just a brief.
Correct, Judge. Just a short reset, so I can sign them up, Judge.
Sure, no worries. Let me go ahead and reset this one for next Thursday. Is that okay?
What date is that, Judge?
The 3rd?
Judge, I have a lot already on that date of the next possible or available date.
Sure.
Sorry.
The week after is the 8th of March,
Thank you, Judge.
and that'll be at 2 o'clock, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, so all the admonishments and any plea with Mr. Fuentes is hereby withdrawn. Mr. Fuentes, we'll see you on the 8th at 2 o'clock.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Having no further business before this honorable court, may I be excused?
You're excused.
Thank you. You have a good day.
Thank you. Mr. Torres, Miguel Angel Torres, did you understand the range of punishment as was explained to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Kenya Vanessa Velasquez?
Yes.
Thank you. And Faustino Castro, did you
Faustino.
understand the range of punishment?
Faustino Castro entiende que el delito menor clase B que usted tiene, en cual usted es acusado, lo máximo de castigo que puede recibir es hasta 6 meses de cárcel del condado, una multa de $2,000 o las dos cosas ya sido encontrado culpable. ¿Sí entiende lo máximo de castigo que puede recibir, señor?
Sí.
Yes.
Thank you. All of you have the right to an attorney and the right to a trial by jury, but you can waive one or both of those rights by signing a document with this court. At this time, I'm going to ask each of you, did you have an opportunity to review a document with your attorney before signing it? I'll start with Mr. Ortega.
Señor Ortega, usted tiene el derecho de tener un abogado presente con usted, el derecho de presentar su caso ante un jurado. Puede renunciar uno o los dos derechos firmando ciertos documentos. ¿Tuvo la oportunidad de revisar esos documentos con su abogado antes de que los firmaras?
Sí.
Yes.
Michael Anthony Flores, same question.
Yes, sir.
Miguel Angel Torres,
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
Kenya Velasquez,
Yes.
and Faustino Castro.
Faustino Castro, ¿sí entendió de los derechos que estaba renunciando?
Sí, señor.
Yes, sir.
Did each of you understand that when you signed those documents, you were waiving your right to have a trial by jury? Did you understand that, Mr. Ortega?
Señor Ortega, entendió que cuando firmó esos documentos estaba renunciando a su derecho de presentar tu caso ante un jurado. ¿Sí entendiste?
Sí.
Yes.
How about Michael Anthony Flores?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Miguel Torres,
Yes, Your Honor.
Kenya Velasquez,
Yes.
and Faustino Castro.
Faustino Castro, ¿sí entendió que estaba renunciando a su derecho de presentar tu caso ante un jurado? ¿Entendiste? Yes.
Has any court ever declared any of you to be mentally incompetent, crazy, or insane, Mr. Ortega?
Señor Ortega, ¿alguna corte alguna vez te ha declarado mentalmente incompetente o que diga que está loco?
No.
No.
Mr. Michael Anthony Flores?
No, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Miguel Torres?
No, Your Honor.
Kenya Velasquez?
No.
And Faustino Castro?
¿Y a usted, señor Castro?
No.
Counsel, in speaking with your clients, do you find them to be mentally competent, able to assist you in their own defense? I'll start with Mr. Joe Reyna.
Mr. Ortega is competent, Judge.
Alex Munoz?
Mr. Flores is competent, Judge.
Carlos Ortegon?
Mr. Torres and Ms. Velasquez are competent.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Garza.
Mr. Castro is competent, Your Honor.
Court's going to go ahead and make a finding that all the defendants before the court, they're all mentally competent. They're all able to assist their attorneys in their own defense. Do you each understand that if the punishment that I assess, if that punishment does not exceed what is recommended by the state, you will need this court's permission if you decide to file an appeal? Do you understand that, Mr. Ortega?
Señor Ortega, ¿entiendes el castigo que le doy si no sobrepasa lo que estaba recomendando el fiscal? Si usted decide apelar este caso, necesita permiso de la corte primero. ¿Entiendes?
Sí.
Yes.
How about Mr. Michael Anthony Flores?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. How about Miguel Angel Torres?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Kenya Vanessa Velasquez?
Yes.
Faustino Castro?
Faustino Castro, ¿usted entendió?
Sí.
Yes.
Do each of you understand that the court does not have to accept the recommendation of the state? Do you understand that, Mr. Ortega?
Entiende que la corte no tiene que aceptar la recomendación del fiscal. ¿Entiendes, Ortega?
Sí.
Yes.
Michael Anthony Flores?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Miguel Angel Torres?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Kenya Vanessa Velasquez?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Faustino Castro?
¿Y usted, señor Castro, sí entendió?
Sí, señor.
Yes, sir.
This time I must ask each of you, are you U.S. citizens? I'll start with Sergio Ortega.
¿Eres ciudadano americano, Sergio Ortega?
No.
No.
How about you, Michael Anthony Flores?
Yes, sir.
How about you, Mr. Miguel Torres?
No, sir.
How about you, Kenya Vanessa Velasquez?
Yes.
How about you, Faustino Castro?
¿Faustino Castro es ciudadano americano?
No.
No.
Mr. Sergio Ortega, Mr. Miguel Angel Torres, and Faustino Rosales Castro. The three of you are not U.S. citizens. As such, I need to advise you that your plea of guilty or no contest may result in your deportation, exclusion from admission to this country, or the denial of naturalization under U.S. federal law. Do you understand those immigration consequences? I'll start with Mr. Ortega.
Señor Ortega, entiende que al declararse culpable no lo contendré, pudiera resultar que sea deportado, negar la entrada para nuestro país o le pudiera afectar la aplicación para ciudadanía. ¿Sí entiende las consecuencias que pudiera pasar con la inmigración?
Sí.
Yes.
How about you, Mr. Miguel Angel Torres?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Faustino Castro?
Faustino Castro, ¿usted entendió? ¿Entendiste, Castro?
Sí, señor.
Yes, sir.
Knowing and understanding these immigration consequences, do you still wish to go forward with your plea here today, Mr. Ortega?
Señor Ortega, sabiendo estas consecuencias que pudiera pasar con la inmigración, ¿es su deseo proceder con su caso aquí hoy?
No entendiste.
Sabiendo las consecuencias que pudiera pasar con la inmigración al declararse culpable o no lo contendré, ¿sigue siendo su deseo proceder con tu caso aquí hoy?
Sí.
Yes.
How about you, Mr. Miguel Angel Torres?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Faustino Castro?
Señor Castro, ¿su deseo proceder con su caso aquí hoy?
Sí.
Yes.
Mr. Sergio Mota Ortega in CR 21-11-9-12-8, the offense of violating a protective order. How do you plead, sir? Guilty or not guilty?
Señor Sergio Mota Ortega, a la ofensa de que violó una orden de protección, que es un delito menor clase A esta ofensa, ¿usted cómo se declara?
Culpable.
Guilty.
How about in CR 21-11-9-11-8, to the offense of violating a protective order? How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
Tiene otra segunda ofensa que violó una orden de protección. Esta ofensa, ¿cómo se declara?
Culpable.
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty on both cases freely and voluntarily, sir?
Se está declarando culpable voluntariamente en estos dos casos.
Sí.
Yes.
In CR 21-08-512H, Michael Anthony Flores, to the offense of possession of marijuana, Class B misdemeanor, sir. How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily, sir? Is
Yeah.
that a yes?
Yes, sir.
All right. in CR 20-00027H, State of Texas versus Miguel Angel Torres. Sir, to the offense of possession of marijuana less than 2 ounces, a Class B misdemeanor. How do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. In CR 21-08856H, Kenya Vanessa Velasquez to the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
I'm guilty.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
All right. In CR 21-10084H, to the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. Mr. Castro, Faustino Castro, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
Faustino Castro, la ofensa de manejar intoxicado, que es un delito menor clase B. A esta ofensa, ¿usted cómo se declara?
Culpable.
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
¿Se está declarando culpable voluntariamente, señor?
Sí.
Yes.
Court's going to go ahead and make a finding that all the defendants have entered their pleas of guilty freely and voluntarily, and I'll call for state's evidence at this time.
Your Honor, state offers plea documents and office reports as State's Exhibit 1, notification and certification of defendant's right of appeal as State's Exhibit 2, waiver of Article 39.14 as State's Exhibit 3, waiver and risk and needs assessment as State's Exhibit 4. State would also request the defense counsel stipulate to venue and jurisdiction of this court and further stipulate that all evidence that has been e-filed is sufficient to corroborate the guilty plea.
All right, I'll start with Mr. Reyna.
No objections on behalf of Mr. Ortega, and he stipulates the venue jurisdiction.
Thank you so much. How about Mr. Alex Munoz?
Same announcement, Judge, for Mr. Flores.
Thank you. How about Mr. Carlos Ortegon?
Same announcement for Mr. Torres and Ms. Velasquez.
All right. Mr. Shigani has joined us. Mr. Shigani, Mr. Ortegon was kind enough to stand in your absence until you got here.
Thank you.
Do you have any objection?
No, Your Honor, no objection, so stipulated.
Perfect. Thank you. And finally, Mr. Rogelio Garza.
Objections, Your Honor, and we agree and stipulate.
There be no objection. State's exhibits are all hereby admitted. Now, before I get started with the sentencing of the defendants before the court, I would like to recognize that, one of the things that being on Zoom has afforded us is the opportunity to communicate with each other, to do pleas remotely. It has afforded us the opportunity to have lawyers and defendants appear from their residence, sometimes from their workplaces. It has afforded us the opportunity to kind of broadcast what we're doing here today to the entire world, because we are live on Zoom as we currently are broadcasting it live on Zoom right now. It's always special to learn that what we do is being watched by others, members of our community. And what I have recently been told and found out is that we are actually being watched currently live by a high school law enforcement class over at Edinburgh High School. And the teacher is Ms. Leticia Garcia. So we'd like to recognize those law enforcement students and that class that is watching us currently live, learning about the legal process, learning about what we do here every day. Some of us, we become robots and we just kind of, we do our jobs, right? But we're also serving as tools for high school classes, even college classes, to watch us, learn from us, and appreciate what we do here every day. So I'd like to recognize my alma mater, Edinburgh High School, and those students there at Edinburgh High School who are watching us as we are currently trying to go through this process of dispensing justice in a fair and efficient manner. So to the class of Edinburgh High School, and to all these others that watch our YouTube lives to learn, to get informed, just to be part of the process, since our courtrooms have been shut down, and although they're technically open now, for the longest time we were in shutdown mode. I'm glad to know that a lot of our students are utilizing these tools to become more informed, but also it might serve as a kind of a catapult for them to want to go to law school, maybe go into law enforcement, become probation officers, become, a whole host of things that are part of this process. I mean, we have our probation officer here, Victoria, who's, a probation officer who has that background, who also is, studying to become a court reporter and still be within the, within the legal field. And then, of course, we have attorneys, Mr. Ortegon, Mr. Munoz, Mr. Shigani, Representative Munoz, who's here, And so all of us play a role in this, whether it's as a judge, a defense counsel, state prosecutors like Mr. Heller, probation officers, and it's really good to know that our youth is listening, they're watching, and learning at the same time. So I just wanted to recognize them. I know that their day may be ending here soon. They may be leaving the classroom. And so before pronouncing judgment, I wanted to give them and recognize them. So thank you all for watching. We will continue with our docket. And in CR 21-11-912H, as well as CR 21-11-911H, State of Texas versus Sergio Mota Ortega, it is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. In both of these cases, what is the recommendation?
Your Honor, the recommendation in both cases is a $100 fine, court costs 142 days, Hidalgo County Jail, probated for, credit for 142.
In both cases, it'll be a zero fine, zero court cost, 142 days, credit for 142 days. Time served. That'll be the judgment of the court.
Ortega, la Corte del Banco trae culpable de estas dos ofensas. El fiscal está recomendando la misma recomendación en los dos casos, que va a ser $100 de multa, costos de corte, 142 días de cárcel, crédito por 142 días. Lo que va a hacer el juez, le va a quitar la multa y costos de corte, va a ser un tiempo servido en los dos casos.
Okay.
All right, thank you. You're excused.
Gracias, se puede retirar.
Mr. Reina, you're also excused.
Thank you, Judge. Have a good
You're
day.
welcome. Thank you, you too. In CR 21-08-512H, State of Texas versus Michael Anthony Flores, it is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation in this case?
The recommendation is a $150 fine, court costs 4 months deferred adjudication, a drug education class, 10 community service hours, and we will be dismissing CR 20-02483H.
All right. In this case, the court will go ahead and approve the dismissal of CR 20-02483H and inquire from Mr. Munoz if he has any requests or considerations that he'd like the court to consider.
Yeah, Judge, if the court would have any consideration on the community service hours, Mr. Flores does have a full-time job, Judge. Also, Judge, I believe in the both cases that he was arrested on, he did serve some time, I believe about 3 days for each crime. I don't know if the court would consider waiving his fine and court costs, Judge.
What I'll do is I'll waive the community service hours since he is gainfully employed, and I'll give him 90 days in which to pay the fine and the court costs. Mr. Flores, the court costs would have been due today, but I'll give you 90 days in which to pay both the fine and the court costs. That's 3 months. You're on 4 months deferred adjudication, so it's almost the entire length of your deferred, okay?
Great, thank you.
We do need a phone number from you, Mr. Flores.
956-929-4356.
Thank you. Our intake department will be calling you in about 5 business days.
Okay.
All right. In CR 20-00027H, State of Texas versus Miguel Angel Torres, it is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation?
The recommendation is a $150 fine, court costs 2 years deferred adjudication, drug education class, and 10 community service hours.
All right. Questions or requests on behalf of your client, Mr. Ortega?
Judge, just time to pay, Your Honor, the court costs and the fine. And if you could waive the community hours, Your Honor.
Is Mr. Torres, where are you? Here, Mr. Torres, I
Sure.
can see you there. Are you currently employed, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Is that a no?
No.
Okay. Do you go to school? What do you do for a living?
Cut hair.
Okay. So you do that. You do something.
Well, yeah, on the side, but I mean, not really.
Okay.
I mean, I've been trying to do it, but you know, I mean, I need to get my license and stuff.
All right. So what do you do to support yourself? Or do you live at home with your family, parents?
Yes.
Court will go ahead and give you 90 days in which to pay the fine, 90 days to pay the court costs. The court costs would have been due today. I'll give you 90 days in which to pay that. Actually, I have to only give you, you said 2 months deferred, right? Oh, it was 2 years. Or is it 2
No,
months?
Judge, it's 2 years, Judge, because they're dismissing a felony.
Oh, got you. All right. So 2 years deferred adjudication, and I will waive the community service hours. We do need a phone number.
And I was going to say I was retained, Your Honor, so no court-appointed fees.
Okay, perfect. All right, and we do need a phone number, Mr. Torres.
Sir, it's 956-472-5431.
Thank you. Our intake department will call you in about 5 business days.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Mr. Ortegon, Mr. Torres, both of y'all are excused.
Thank you, Judge. Good seeing you.
Likewise.
Your Honor.
In CR 2108-856H, Kenya Vanessa Velasquez, it is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation?
The recommendation is a $250 fine, court costs, 9 months deferred adjudication, alcohol classes, 4 months mobile monitoring, 20 community service hours, and a 90-day driver license suspension.
How much was the mobile alcohol? For how many months?
4.
4 months. All right. Questions or requests on behalf of your client, Mr. Shagat?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge. I apologize for being late today. Your Honor, I would just ask, I know an ignition interlock is required for deferred, so I'd ask the court to consider, instead of mobile, to have an interlock device for the same amount of time. Other than that, Judge, just time for her to pay the fine and court costs. She is also gainfully employed. Her mother owns a restaurant. She works at that restaurant full time. So I would just ask for the court to waive those community service hours, and likewise, any driver's license suspension to run concurrent with any previously imposed suspension, Judge. I guess our real request, our main request, is the interlock device, Your Honor.
Does she currently have a mobile device or no device at all?
I don't believe she has any device, Judge. It was not ordered by the municipal judge.
Okay. And so it didn't raise a red flag with us in terms of, you know, one of the categories that we would install a device. All right. The court will go ahead and grant that request. So it can be.
And just lastly, Judge, just for the record, this Miss Velasquez is/was a pretrial diversion candidate. I did explain to her the situation, what the program was, and the possibilities she has with that program, but she decided she wanted to proceed with deferred instead, Judge, just for the record.
Okay. I will run the 90-day Texas driver's license suspension concurrent with the administrative suspension as well. So it's a 90-day ability to pay the fine and court costs, and then run the suspension. The the ignition interlock device will be agreed, and I waive the CSR. I think that's about everything that we were talked about, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, 90 days to pay the fine and court costs.
Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Velasquez, we do need a phone number for probation.
It's 956-360-8366.
Thank you. Our intake department will call you in about 5 business days.
All right, then you and your attorney, Mr. Shigani, and Ms. Velasquez, both of y'all are excused.
Thank you, Judge. Great seeing you.
Likewise.
Thank
you. In CR 2110-084H, State of Texas versus Faustino Rosales Castro, is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation?
The recommendation is a $250 fine, court costs, 1 year deferred adjudication, alcohol classes, 6 months of mobile monitoring, 20 community service hours, and 90-day driver license suspension.
All right, questions or requests on behalf of your client, Mr. Garza?
Just, he's a full-time worker, Judge, at Aguilar Meat Market. I'm asking the court to waive the 20 hours, CSI hours.
Since he's gainfully employed, the court will go ahead and waive the CSR hours. I'm going to run the 90-day Texas driver's license suspension concurrent with the administrative suspension, and I'll give him 90 days in which to pay the fine and court costs. The rest of the recommendation I will follow. Carlos, will you let him know? And we do need a phone number from him.
Sí, señor Castro, la corte lo va a encontrar culpable de la ofensa. El fiscal está recomendando una multa de $250, los costos de corte, 1 año de libertad condicional diferidos, que tienda clases de alcohol, un aparato móvil por un periodo de 6 meses, 20 horas de servicio a la comunidad, que le suspenden la licencia por 90 días. El juez le va a quitar la hora de servicio a la comunidad y su suspensión de licencia va a parar junto con la suspensión que ya le dieron. Necesitamos un número de teléfono por usted, señor.
Es 956-378-7795.
It's 956-378-7795.
Thank you. Just let them know intake will call in about 5 business days.
Gracias. Alguien de la oficina de libertad condicional le va a llamar en estos próximos 5 días, señor.
Okay, para el probation, todo eso también, ¿o qué?
For the probation, all that also, or what?
Yes, sir. All that, the probation officers will call you.
Sí, señor. Los oficiales le van a llamar.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. You're excused along with Mr. Garza.
Gracias, se puede retirar, señor.
Thank you, Your Honor, Mayor. Thank you. Have a good day, Judge.
Likewise. Representative Munoz, did we miss something with you?
Yes, Judge, I was just going to advise the court, Your Honor, another case that was set for the jail docket, and that was Mariano Felix Garanza, Your Honor, CR 21-00756-H.
Okay, and your announcement?
Judge, this case was to be dismissed as part of his felony plea that we took care of yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Heller, was that part of your notes? And it will.
Judge, I have not received any word about the arrangement.
Judge, he pled to 6 years TDC on 3 different cases, so I really don't think that
a POM is gonna.
Yeah, but
Judge, I'm looking at the notes of the felony, and it's showing that the agreement was to dismiss only the state jails.
Let me do this. Let me reset this one for March the 1st. Give you all some time to inquire from the felony. I would imagine that a POM, when he's doing that much time, is going to get disposed of as part of it. But I'll give you till Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And then if it gets taken care of administratively, we'll just take care of it that way.
It very likely will. It's just that my notes are for the felony are showing something else.
Yeah, they probably just didn't maybe make the correct entry, but I'm sure that can get worked out.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else, Representative Munoz?
That's it, Judge. Maybe excuse now.
Well, I know that, hold on. I want you to say something to the students from Edinburgh High School. I know you went to Mission and, you know, we're rivals when it comes to football, but maybe you can share some wisdom as a representative, as a state legislator, with some of the students from law enforcement that are watching us on YouTube Live from Edinburgh High School.
Well, I guess I just want to add, reiterate what you mentioned, Judge. One, how technology has really, due to the pandemic, right, has made us now look at working not only as an attorney, but just the court system in general. It gives an opportunity for more people actually to be involved and to gain that knowledge about how the process works. Although it's a little bit different at times because, you know, there are matters that you want to take care of in person, and sometimes being in the courtroom is a lot different, right, than actually trying to litigate something here on Zoom. But to all of the students that are watching, thank you for your time and for your commitment, right? Because being aware of what's going on, not only in your community, but also preparing yourself for the future is something that I know you yourself, Judge, and myself and everybody on here promotes in terms of making sure that all these students are prepared to continue to be great successes, not only for themselves, but for their families as they go throughout their educational career.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, what it does, what Zoom has done is it supported us some transparency that maybe people may have felt like there was a lack of transparency. And that was just by the simple fact that people didn't have the time to come to the courthouse. They didn't understand the process. And unfortunately with that and with a lack of understanding comes a belief that we aren't as transparent as we truly have been all this time. But I think this allows people to see the process, to be a part of it, to log on. And, you know, anybody who's joined my YouTube channel, whenever I log on, they get notifications and they log on. And I think we're maybe up to 300 followers, something like that, of people that get notifications that I go live. And you know, the class here, I was very happy, pleasantly surprised to see that students are watching us. But then again, students have always been involved in our process. We just maybe weren't aware that they were listening. And now that I'm aware that they're listening, I'm glad so that they can learn.
Judges, and as an attorney, right, I mean, the reality about the Zoom is that we don't have any more excuses not to show up, right?
No, none, even though some still show up late.
Yeah, we don't have any, you know, we can't use we're in another court. Well, you know, I guess you still can, but technically you could have a device logged in and ready for your case to be called.
That's right. When we move into the new courthouse, that's going to be another transition. We had a transition from going from in-person to Zoom, and that took a couple months for us to get used to that. And now to get back into in-person is going to be another transition that lawyers are going to have to become accustomed to. But hopefully opening up a nice, shiny new building is going to help incentivize you guys coming and visiting us in person.
No, and I think the like you mentioned, the transparency, and that's something that I think whether you go to the court hearings in person or you're able to tune in on Zoom, I think it gives people like the real world perspective as to how things actually work and how things are actually done in court, right? And I mean, every case is different. Every fact and circumstances as to why people have been brought before this court are different. And I think that in itself makes us see, right, the whole picture in terms of what we have going on, not only in our judicial system, but also within our community.
Absolutely. All the problems, all the beautiful things that we have, both positive and negative, people get to see it. They get to witness adoptions happening. They get to witness the good things that happen within the court system, but then they also get to see some of the difficult things that happen, like divorces and child custody matters, and then how the court goes about, the logic behind it. And if you follow us long enough, you might be able to follow a particular case and see it through from its beginning, its inception, to all the way to the end. And they get to see how we do that. So again, it isn't a bad thing. It does allow for transparency, and all that is something that I think is going to be a part of our future forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're ever going to go back to the way it was. We're just going to maybe have a hybrid system. So, Representative, good seeing you. Thank you.
Okay, well, y'all, good luck to all the students, and thank you to the court and to your staff, Judge, for allowing me to log back in and make that announcement.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
Judge, I have a question. We still have 10 inmates,
Okay, let's start.
and they're asking about they might be reset.
Yes, sir. Let's start at the beginning.
I have Bravo, Alberto,
Number 5. March the 3rd at 2 o'clock.
Burris, Brandon,
Number 6 through 9, same date, 3/3.
March 3rd.
Yes, at 2.
Chavez, David,
That one was dismissed. That case was dismissed. They submitted the dismissal.
Gutierrez, Vicente,
3/29 at 2.
329. Martinez, Juan,
March the 3rd at 2 o'clock.
Montejo, Jose,
March 24th at 2 o'clock.
okay, and Morales, Juan,
Juan Morales, 3/3.
3-3, okay. Ovidio, Eduardo,
March 22nd.
Ramos, Ricardo,
March the 10th. March the 10th at 2.
Valadez, Jose,
March the 10th.
March 10th,
Yes, sir. March the 10th.
Ovidio, you're done. March 22nd. Judge, that's it.
All right.
Those are the 10. Thank you, Judge. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, that takes care of our docket. Court's going to go ahead and log off.